Hi, and welcome back to my 12 days of mobility and strength. This is day 10. And day 10 has not come exactly after day 9. It will have if you're watching this after I've put up all 12 videos. But if you've been waiting with bated breath for the release of video number 10 after 9, it's been several days. So my apologies for that. I think the gap between videos should be narrower, or there might be no gap at all if I can get these out a little faster than I have for the previous 8. So apologies there if you have been waiting and been doing these as they've been released. But if you're watching just when they've all been released, it doesn't really matter. You can do them anytime. So as always, please listen to your body. And if anything feels strange, off, insidious, you probably ought to back off, right? I'm not there to correct your form or to give you a sense of what you should be doing. I'm just someone on the internet who knows a lot about anatomy, but who's not a physical therapist. And I'll tell you that I know a lot, but I don't know everything. And that's the joy in learning, is that it never stops. So with all that said, let's get into today's routine. The only prop you'll need today is an unusual one. I think it's making a reappearance, I believe, for the first time since my second session in this series. Not entirely sure on that. I might have to go back and check. But you'll need a 6-foot Theraband. And so I suppose if you have shorter Therabands, you could maybe tie them together. This is one that's listed at, I think, intermediate to advanced stretchability and intensity. So if you don't have one of these and you want to come back to this video later on, I'll leave a link in the description box to where I got this roll of maybe 100 yards, I'm not sure, on Amazon. And so maybe you can get one for yourself and then experiment with bands. Because the nice thing about bands is that they get harder the more you pull them out. So it's more work for your muscles, and that's pretty cool. So feel free to just follow along if you don't have one of these. And just so you get a sense of it, maybe you can get a little run through and then try it later. But if you do have one of these and are well equipped and raring to go, then here we go. So we'll start with a wide-legged forward fold with the Theraband. So I'll do this, and we'll do several different things with the arms and upper body in the midst of this. So I place my band on the floor, completely flat, no tension on it right now. Then, and I'm doing this on a little bit of a diagonal, so hopefully you can see the alignment I'm going for on my back, which is not overly rounded, nor is it hyperextended, particularly in the lumbar. So keep that in mind. It's basically like a straight-legged hip abduction deadlift that gets more challenging at the top of the position, which is where I am right now, but I'm still not holding onto the strap. So join me if you'd like to. And by the way, you might have seen that I stepped on the strap when it had no tension on it. So the tension will be created once you start pulling on it. So, abdominal tension. You grab your band, bring it up with you, and truly, I couldn't tell you exactly what poundage this is approximating here, but it's enough where my back of my body and my hamstrings can detect it, particularly as we go into the variations of this here. So, you could, if you'd like, just go through a hip hinge like this, and then just feel the gradual progression of resistance as you come up into a standing position. But you could also, if you'd like to, as you go into hip flexion, as you hinge, reach your arms out in front of you, bringing yourself into a little bit of shoulder flexion. And this will put a little more load on the back of your body, creating a little more contraction on your back muscles, as well as on the whole, I believe, superficial back line of myofascia, if you go with the Anatomy Train's Tom Myers kind of viewpoint here. So we can do a few of these together. You go into a hip hinge, and then you reach your arms out in front of you, like that. All right, another hinge. Again, just avoiding the rounded spine position here. All right, and then coming back up. So by now, hopefully you're seeing that's some degree of warm-up will have been presumed before you attempt this miniature routine, this quick little movement vignette, as I said in another video, I think, which kind of best describes these practices, which are not all-encompassing workouts, but just little things I've sort of picked out of the quantum field of movements that you can try in your own body if your body's feeling up to it, or modify as you see fit. So another thing we could do, in addition to hinging forward, is to push the hands back. You know, it's almost like an exaggerated kettlebell swing, I suppose. I'm no kettlebell expert, so kettlebell experts out there, please forgive me if that is a ludicrous suggestion as to what this might resemble. But I'm pushing, hard to tell with the way I have the camera angled here, but I'm pushing straight back, just like that. So you get a little kind of triceps extension, you know, albeit not in a fully shoulder extended position, but that is another way to work the back of the arms, having just worked the front of the arms, and like anterior deltoids for the shoulder flexion, and then posterior for the shoulder extension. So let me get my strap back in play. So I have my feet about maybe 4 feet apart here. Might be a little bit different for you. And I will offer you different variations of this along the way that we could do single arm versions. So let's just do 5 total of reaching forwards and backwards. Yeah, and then we'll do a couple of variations. So fold, and as you hinge, reach arms forward, come back up. Reach arms, or hinge again, reach back, come back up. So that's 1. Reach up, reach up. 2. Shoulder flexion, abdominals pull in, up. Shoulder extension, or at least going toward it, come up. 3. 4. 4. 5. 5. Another option, as I mentioned, and I'll turn even more in profile here, just so you can get the attempt. You could better see what my spine is doing, which is trying to find that space somewhere between this and this, you know, a little more neutral. So I'm a little exhausted just from doing that. You could try single arm versions of this too, you know. So I'm grabbing it with my right hand. You can just have your left hand on your left hip, or maybe behind you. You could also try to externally rotate your arm into your back. Anything you want to try here. So we'll do 5 of these, forwards and backwards. So hinging, reaching, 5, we'll count down this time. And then back, 5, 4, 4, 3, 3, 2, 2, so you're getting a little bit of strength and mobility at the same time. 1, 1. And then go right into the other side, left hand makes the grab here. 5, 5, 4, 4, 3, finding shoulder flexion, 3, shoulder extension, reaching up, 2, 2, and 1, and 1. Then I want to show you one more thing we could do standing, and then we'll do one final exercise today that'll be on the floor. So here I am again, placing my strap along the floor, no tension on it. Now I'm going into like a wide-legged squat. Like if you took just a regular squat with feet like this, and then you just fillet it and open it up, like a squat dissection. It also maybe vaguely resembles what's called the horse stance, I believe in martial arts circles. I'm no expert on that, but I've seen enough social media imagery and videography to know that it looks somewhat like this. So for this version, I'm just turning my feet out. I'm not trying to do any grand thing with my feet or create a lot of torque here. I'm just basically kickstanding, letting my lower body be a kickstand for my upper body. So then you can grab a hold of your strap. So this is for the rotator cuff, more specifically the external rotators, infraspinatus teres minor. You do a little lateral flexion to the left side, and then you have your right arm roughly 90 degrees here. And then I'm pulling up. I'm trying to keep my elbow kind of plugged into the side here. And then I feel this kind of on the bottom 2/3 of my scapula, where the, below, south of the spine of the scapula. So I've just been showing you a couple of practice ones. Trying not to do, any crazy elbow stuff like that. Trying to keep it more or less at your side. It's not going to be perfectly driven into your rib cage, but, more or less staying in one place. So 5 of these, right? So it gets progressively more challenging as you take it up. So there's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Then I could shift it over to the other side, lateral flexion to the right, not mirror imaging you, as you might have guessed. Also going for just a little bit of a posterior tilt as I pull my abdominal muscles in, finding roughly a 90-degree angle and trying to drive my elbow, not really hard, but just kind of keep it in place into the left side of my rib cage. Start getting excited. Second side, here we go. So 5, 4, 3, see that? 2, 1. Also, depending on how long you hold a horse stance, it can become a little torturous, but it reminds me of the expression that I've run across somewhere along the way. When you want to stop doing an exercise, that's when it starts. Now we'll get to our final position here, which is basically like a perspective shift on what we did standing with the first exercise. So this is a seated wide-legged forward fold. So it approaches what's called in yoga the Upavishta Konasana position, where you would go into a wide position like this. I think they call this the pancake position in fitness circles. So this time you have a couple of different options with the band. Now let's say, and again, this is why it was assumed that you might have had some degree of warm-up before this. And also, I will also add a little bit more than average adductor mobility, right? Because I've been doing all this movement stuff and practices in my own body for many years, and also having taught in the fitness space for a while, that I've gotten to a point where I can do this now. But if you need to modify, you can place a cushion. I don't know if you could see my array of fitness props over here, but I have a couple of things that would be good cushions to sit up on and give you a little bit of a boost, so in case an anterior tilt is not readily available to you. So one option, again, getting back to what I was saying probably about a minute ago, you could start with your legs already pretty wide and place the band around your foot that way. And you can see at that point I have very little end pieces of strap to work with, which means your upper body will probably be carrying quite a bit more of the load here. But it'll also be a little, and it depends on what you would want to do with the upper body at this point anyway. But for our purposes today, and you can certainly explore that once you've gotten one of these 6-foot Therabands for yourself online. For our purposes, I am taking my feet just a little bit closer and then pushing them out a little bit. So right away when I do that, I get not only more slack with which to work on each side of my foot, but I'm also in a position where I'm placing my abductors into a position of sustained static abduction. Then what you can do here is to cross the straps And then we'll kind of backtrack what we did with the arms a little bit. So you could work on rotator cuff here. I'm trying to sit up tall here. Happen to be wearing a shirt that's almost the same color as the orange chair behind me. Apologies. Hope there's better contrast here. So you could try to do external rotation here, for instance. Nice thing is about the band is that you can find a larger range of motion in your arms. All right. Something to experiment with. All right. So we could do 5 of these together. All right. So you can start with the arms in internal rotation here, and then you externally rotate, sitting up, pushing feet into the bands. Yep. So there's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then cross the straps so the other one's on top. You know, it's a very slight difference in elbow flexion, but you know, any excuse to find symmetry is, I think, is a good thing. So upright yourself. I'm gonna do a little walk sideways so you can, you know, see that angle if need be, if that is more helpful. Lucky you, getting to see straddle here. So here we go, plugging my elbows into the sides, getting this sustained hip abduction, you know, working the outsides of the hips. And then you go 5, oops, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then one more variation of that you could do, which we actually didn't do in the standing version, is to do a row. Right? So you can, again, keep your straps crossed here. And I'm not going to change which way is crossed because it's less of an issue here, I would say. So you can have your band out in front of you, reach forward, going into a little bit of a hip hinge there as we did before, and then row. And then I'll show you what my spine's twying. Elmer foot here. Be very, very quiet. We're working on our rotator cuff and other things. So you can do a hip hinge, right, reaching way out in front of you. Just make sure you're not excessively rounding or otherwise getting into position which might hurt your back. And you can pull yourself forward just like you're doing a little row. I'm also on this constant externally rotated mindset here, in that mindset, right, by trying to keep that more neutral upper body position. So let's do 5 of those. Forward, if you need to, you can also bend your knees, right? And that'll take some of the tension out of your spine and your lower back, which is part of your spine. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is it for today. I hope you enjoyed that, and if you didn't, thank you for watching anyway. Stay tuned for sessions 11 and 12 coming up. Peace, baby. If you like this video, I invite you with a very, in a very encouraging way, to please like this video on the YouTube app or on youtube.com, to subscribe to my channel if you're so inclined, as I am trying to get better about posting videos as we dive into this new year. And you can check out the description box to see other ways and other places to get in touch with me and other media that I post that may not be on YouTube. So there's that. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope it gives you some ideas of new ways to explore your body and explore your mind. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thanks.